welcome to my review of the Saint of Incipient Insanities by Elif Shafak. Elif Shafak is a Turkish author, however she writes in English as well. She has novels that she writes in English and novels that she writes in Turkish, and the Saint of Incipient Insanities is the first novel that she ever published in English, and it was published in 2004. So let's go into the book a little bit. And to do that, I'm going to talk to you about the main characters of the book. Ömer is a Turkish PhD student who measures time in songs played on repeat and who is obsessed about losing his dots and becoming a more easily pronounced Omer or Omar. Gail is an American bisexual who always wears a silver spoon hanging from her hair and who had her first suicide attempt as a toddler. Abed is a Moroccan PhD student who tries to keep in touch with his girlfriend back in Morocco and who is severely preoccupied by the stereotypes of Arabs in America. Piu is a Spanish exchange student, a devout Catholic, an aspiring dentist who has a phobia of sharp objects. And Alegre is a third-generation Mexican-American who loves cooking for people and making delicious foods despite being bulimic herself. So how could these characters that are so different from each other be actually connected in a book? Well, they're all friends and they all try to find themselves in America while being immigrants and not really thinking they fit in. Except Gail, who is actually American, but she still doesn't feel like she fits in. Now, nothing major happens in the book. It's one of those books where you just follow characters and just normal life events. There isn't like a huge climax or big twists, but it is such a nicely written book. It's so humorous but heartbreaking at the same time. It actually made me laugh out loud, and some of the situations were so funny that I just loved it. I think it also had to do with how I personally found myself in the book, because as I mentioned before in other videos, I was actually a student in London for 3 years, and I did experience the loss of, not exactly dots but diacritics on my Romanian name, and I could feel for how that means losing a little bit of your identity. I could empathize with the characters when they said that when you are a foreigner and living in a foreign country, you don't represent yourself, more you just represent your country and you represent your people, and you feel this pressure. And I really loved all the philosophical debates in the book, I guess. Like, they touch on so many issues that people go through, and they try to adapt to foreign cultures and foreign customs, and how they have this duality inside of them and this conflict of feeling that if they really properly adapted the customs there, they feel like betraying their own identity from when they left back home, but at the same time they do feel like they don't want to just keep living in the past, and they do want to adapt to where they live. Really love this book. I only read 2 other books from Elif Shafak, but I can totally sense a common ground, and that is in the way that she does the storytelling. And I think it is so beautiful. I absolutely love her storytelling and how she manages to just talk about characters separately in a way that you would never think they are connected to each other, and then towards the middle and the end you realize how they all tangle and how they all cross each other's paths at some point, even if it is just passing each other on the street. And I also love how there are scenes where she talks about characters that have absolutely nothing to do with the story. They're just passerbys or witnesses to an event, and yet in a few sentences she adds substance to those characters and just explains their life story a little bit, even though it has nothing to do with the story she's telling in the book. Also, something that I liked about the book is that it is very musical. Like I said, Ömer measures his time into songs. He observes this difference in people from the Occident and people from the Orient. I really like this because I'm actually learning Turkish. I'm self-teaching myself Turkish, and I noticed there's a lot of similarities between Turkish and Romanian. And there is a point in the book where Ömer thinks about how in English, if you ask someone the time, you ask them if they have the time, like what is the time. In Turkish, and similarly in Romanian, if you ask for the time, you ask people if they have a watch. And he talks about how people from the West think they can control and hold the time, while people from the East think that they're just observants. They have no control over time. They just use their instruments to measure it. And I thought that was such a nice observation. I don't know if I agree with it, like, oh, this is what Western people are like, or Eastern people, but just the way that she describes the language difference is so nice. And because of this difference, Ömer doesn't want to measure time in any way that is similar to other people, so he comes up with this alternative method of measuring it in songs that he puts on repeat. And every time that happens, he mentions what the songs are. I really like musical books, and this is very musical. As for my rating, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think it's amazingly written. The story is really good. The character development is just really nice. And I think the language is just incredible. I was trying to find specific quotes on Goodreads. As you probably figured out by now, I read the book in Romanian, and I tried to find a couple of really good quotes that I liked, but I wasn't able to find them in English. But this is definitely a book that I want to buy and read in English again, because I think there is a lot of loss in the translation. Elif Shafak is a writer that really uses language like as a tool, because she writes both in Turkish and in English. And I heard her say this in an interview. She writes more emotionally in Turkish and more cerebral in English, and I think she really uses language, like really goes to deep into using language. It's quite a bit of things that get lost in translation, and for her books I think that's even more than for other books. So I'm planning on definitely rereading this in its original published language, which is English. I think that people who live abroad as students or working and just live far away from their home country could really feel for this book. I think that having lived abroad really helped me like feel for it and just empathize a lot more than I would have if I hadn't lived abroad. But having said that, I don't think that it would be, if you hadn't lived abroad, it would keep you from enjoying the book, because it's just so good. Anyway, I hope you like my review, and I hope that you're gonna get the book a try, and let me know if you read it, let me know if you want to read it, and what you think of it and all that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you back with more videos soon. Bye bye.